whenever you make these desperate prayers, desperate prayers will get you in trouble. Good trouble though. It'll get you in good trouble. And the reason why I say that is because you be praying for it. Lord, I'm gonna give it all to you. Lord, whatever you need to do. And then he does it. And you're like, what is happening? What is he shaking? Your foundation, because everything that needed to be shaken, everything that needed to be surrendered will be. We are back, impact and action, and I'm excited. I'm excited because we are in week 2 of our 10-week series, The Building Before the Breakthrough. And this is where we go over each lady's story. If you guys can remember, the lady in the first picture, where it was a group of ladies and they were eating together and all of the things, right? And so we're about to go through each one of their stories because everyone has a story. And just in the comments, if you see or notice, hey, this is me, this is my story, let us know. Because again, we want to connect with you. So just a little reminder, we are Kingdom Supply Storehouses. This is the Becoming Her initiative. And we are the how-to and know-how of entrepreneurship development. And so we're here to help you in your entrepreneur endeavors. And we just want you to know that this is about you, right? And so this is a little different because we make sure that you guys have what you need in order to be successful. And we want to witness your journey. We want to celebrate your journey with you along the way. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so whenever we put out content, you get the notification because again, we are developing things for you. Last thing I want to say really quick, just as a housekeeping, is a lot of these sessions will only be 15 minutes. The reason being is because, again, we're doing this for you. And so, since we're doing this for you, we would like a majority of your time to be your time. And so, the idea is if you watch and get information for 15 minutes, then you can take 45 minutes to just reflect and see how it can be implemented in your own life, right? And so, I am excited. I am excited about what is to come. I am excited about what God is doing. I'm excited about your journey and witnessing, you go from making your first YouTube video to hitting one of your YouTube subscriber mile markers. Like, we're here for it all. Nothing is too big and nothing is too small. And so, generally, what we are creating is community with other ladies that are going the journey with us, right? And we will go ahead and jump into it. So today, without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. And today, and I'll start the timer now. So this video is going to be a little bit longer, but give me a second. All right, here we go. So today we are discussing Maria and Maria's story. Um, and I love Maria's story because at a glance, it looks like Maria has it all together, right? And she's smiling, and she has her husband, and she has her kid. Wherever they are, they ain't spending $40 for a meal, okay? They putting a little ding and thing, you know what I'm saying? But Maria has to kind of face things through while she's building her business, right? And so, what if God is building through the breakthrough, from breakdown to alignment? For the woman learning to trust God when life feels like it is falling apart, only to discover He is bringing everything into alignment. And so, what happened with Maria's story? Just a little bit of background before we continue to go. What's happening with Maria's story is the fact that life is just lifing. Yes, she has the husband. Yes, she has the kids, but her husband had got laid off. She's been looking for work, but the work is not working. She even tried to do some gig work. But things just start happening left to right. Stuff start, coming out of the account. Just like, what? When did we ever, we purchased that a year ago. Why are they charging us again? Talking about it was a subscription, all of the things, right? And some of it could be that she just missed it, but some of it could be that life is just life and things are just happening, right? And so in Maria's situation, at this particular time, it's shaking the very foundation of what she felt like she had to put together to keep everything in order, right? Because sometimes as women, we take on the burden of making sure the house is together and making sure the kids have what they need, which, don't get me wrong, a part of being a mother, a part of being a wife, there's things that come from that, right? But is it coming naturally from who you are and the expression of who you are, because it says expression, right? It's an expression of love. Is when I cook for my family, it's an expression of love. I'm doing it because I love my family and I want to make sure that they have food that nourishes their body, not because the world expects me to do this, so this is what I have to do, right? And so it's a different from the expression coming out and flowing and doing it because this is the expectation that's needed to me. The weight is what is different, right? And so, what looks like a breakdown was often God's way of building order, alignment, and obedience. So, with Maria and Maria's story, and what we'll go through over these next 3 days, is with Maria, she needed to surrender the office to God and remove the ego, right? The ego, and when I say ego, I mean the personality, right? Um, because ego does not always have to be bad, right? Um, what was her name? Gandhi was an ego, right? It was a certain, a personality trait, so to speak, So ego does not always have to be bad. But with that being said, the persona of what you think or what you have been programmed to think it should look like has to be surrendered to God in order for you to fully live the expression that He has put you in, right? Because every situation that He puts you in, that's why seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all of these things will be added on to you. And I just want you guys to know I'm gonna talk about God here. That's just who I am. That's a part of my expression. So I'm not preaching to you guys, but this is business done God's way. But also that's just what I know. So I mean, I just want to give that disclaimer before we continue to get you know, too far into it. But, stick with us. Stick with us. Might help. So sometimes construction feels like destruction. The belief. The breakdown does not mean that God has abandoned the plan. Maria had to believe that uncertainty could still be part of divine order. And so one of the things that Maria was praying for order in her household. And we want to stop and say thank you for watching. Becoming Her is your entrepreneurship development community, giving emerging entrepreneurs the know how and practical how to for building with confidence. Since you're here, we know you're ready for your next step. So visit our website, join your tribe, and claim your free resources. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And you can shop the merch, schedule your next step session, support the mission, and share this with another woman ready to build. Let's keep becoming together. Sometimes whenever whenever you make these desperate prayers, desperate prayers will get you in trouble. Good trouble though. It'll get you in good trouble. And the reason why I say that is because you be praying for it. Lord, I would give it all to you. Lord, whatever you need to do. And then he does it. And you're like, what is happening? What is he shaking? Your foundation, because everything that needed to be shaken, everything that needed to be surrendered will be surrendered at this time, right? And so in that she was asking for order in her household. And so when do we start to look and pay attention to things like really closely if it's not something that we pay attention to? When a problem arises, you might not have looked at your forearm that you live with every day. You might not have looked at your forearm closely. Sometimes you look at your forearm, you're like, oh, I got a scratch there. When did that happen? Right? You didn't know. But as soon as you had the scratch, you paid attention to it, right? Or as soon as you got the rash, you're looking at your forearm and examining it every day. And so in Maria's circumstance, when she asked for order, things started to happen to spotlight, to shine a light, because what does the light do? The light scatters the darkness. So wherever things were just out of sight, out of mind, and these were behaviors that we were operating in our home, or the kids, and sometimes it's not always someone else. Sometimes it's us, where the kids are running ragged. But the reason why the kids are running ragged is because I have no follow through. I have no follow through. I tell them to stop doing something, they stop it for a minute, and then I turn my back and I'm gone about my business. And instead of paying attention to make sure that they understood my request and paying attention to make sure that they had the tools to do what it was I was asking them to do, or they just remembered, or they just know that, hey, I'm not playing with you. When I say something, this is what I mean. But because I got in a rhythm of, telling them to do something and then going back to my business, going back to the laundry, or going back to cooking, or going back to working, or whatever the case may be, now the kids have gotten into a flow, right? But then when something happens, oh, we need to pay attention to this because this system is no longer working, right? And so sometimes when you ask for things and you ask for like order or things of that nature, and God is doing a marvelous work, but a quick work, it seems like uncertainty because now everything is getting shaked at one time, right? Especially when you ask for finances. OMG. When you're like, Lord, I need the money. I need the money, Lord. Give me the money. What am I doing? Especially if you ask, what am I doing? If you ask, what am I doing? He's going to show you what you're doing. And it's going blam, 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 because I looked at my account and I thought I had 150 plus more dollars in there that's in there now. And what happened? What happened? Well, now you're looking blam, blam, blam. So even in the uncertainty of it all, right? Faith did not erase the circumstance, but it changed how much power they carried. Because another thing that happens during this time and during the season, specifically for Maria, is, you know, you can't be like, oh, all of the things are happening. And which the first initial thing is like, God just left me. But no, especially when you're owning a business, right? And then you're in the early stages of owning your business. When you're in the early stages of owning your business and all of these things are happening, this is where you really have to hold on to your faith. Again, just like if you are, planting a seed, and I have a kid that's running, just like when you are planting a seed, it's real life, y'all. So I just saw a little baby just running across the but just like when you're planting a seed, right? If a flood happens the next day, are you gonna give up? because you needed the seed. That's the reason why you planted it in the first place, right? Because you needed the harvest of the seed, or whatever the case may be. You wanted the flowers to bloom. When I plant vegetables. I plant stuff I could eat. I have started planting some flowers too, and then but we'll talk about it later. Anyway, but you needed the harvest. That's the reason why you planted, because you needed the harvest. And so the first sign, or the multiple signs, you still have to hold on to faith, right? And so uh, what Maria focused on shaped how she experienced the season. Focusing only on what was lost made her feel defeated. And that's especially in that early stage, right? When you're in that early stage and everything is, going, it's like, oh my God, why is all of this happening? Like, have you forsaken me? Have you not heard my prayers? No, he heard exactly what you asked for. That's the reason why, sometimes those friends that you thought were your friends had to move around, because you asked for order and they were not in line or in alignment with what it was that you were asking for. And so that's why, because sometimes, especially, a person like me, I just love everyone. I just, want to be around everyone. So sometimes God, before I learned boundaries, God had to make it very clear that this person is not your friend. And normally that came in the form of them doing something really mean to me that I just could not ignore, because all of the little subtle things that, he gave me to notice and be like, that's, what I'm saying? In which everybody has something, that's for another conversation for another day. Nobody's perfect. Everybody falls short, right? So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the little personality flaws. No, when someone does something specifically to you that is a red flag that you ignore because you just want to love people and I want to give people the benefit of the doubt and da, 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 da. Yes, but you have discernment for a reason as well. And when you're on this journey, particularly, everyone cannot always come with you. Now, does that mean that we have to be mean to people? Does that mean that we cannot be cordial? No, I have a lot of people that I'm cordial with, and we can talk. Some people we keep it short because we know it's a little friction there. We might not know exactly what it is, but we know it's a little friction there, so we keep it short. Some people, I talk to, we talk for hours. It's all love, right? But in the particular journey that I'm on, you know certain things, it just doesn't fly together, right? And so we are almost out of time for today. Really, today was introducing Maria's story. Again, if you find anything in Maria's story or anything that we've talked about that's close to what it is that you might be experiencing, please put it in the comments. We would like to know. Again, this is all for you. We have these 10-week series coming up, but if you have any questions or anything, um, we're excited to make that content for you. We're going to get into, again, the know-how, which is, how do I make my website? How do I do flyers? How do I make sure that I have the legal behind my business, things of that nature, but also the how-to. How do I do this when I got kids I got to take care of? I got to go to work, because when you first start a business, the business ain't businessing for, the first few months. And so I need money to sustain. How do I do this with the life that I have? And that's what we're here for. And I'm super excited again to witness your journey. So we will be here tomorrow to continue Maria's story. Bye.